I still remember the day my sister handed me her newborn son in the hospital. His tiny fingers curled tightly around mine, his little chest rising and falling with each breath, and his face scrunched as though even the brightness of the world outside his mother's womb was too much to handle. His name was Ethan. From the very beginning, something about him felt extraordinary, though I couldn't have known then just how much his journey would affect my life. I was there for many of Ethan's firsts. His first steps on the worn carpet of my sister's living room, his first words, simple ones like ball and mama, and his first day of preschool when he clung to my leg, his eyes wide with fear of the unknown. I was his aunt, yes, but over the years I became more than that. I was his confidant, his listener, and sometimes even his safe place when he felt misunderstood. My sister, Emily, was a single mother raising him in the small town of Dayton, Ohio. His father had left before Ethan was even born, so she carried the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. And though she was strong, she often leaned on me, her younger sister, Sarah, to fill in the spaces where she couldn't be two people at once. Ethan was a bright boy, but also sensitive. From the time he was little, he seemed to see the world differently. While other kids roughhoused outside, he preferred sitting in his room with colored pencils, sketching out entire worlds in his notebook. He could draw for hours, lost in his imagination. His teachers often said he was talented, but they also worried about his quietness. He doesn't participate much, one teacher told Emily during a conference. He's kind but reserved. Sometimes the other kids don't include him. As Ethan grew older, the differences between him and his peers became more noticeable. In middle school, while other boys were trying out for football and talking about video games, Ethan still carried sketchbooks around and spent lunch alone. I saw the way kids snickered at him in the cafeteria when I came to pick him up one day. It made my heart ache. At home, when I asked him about it, he just shrugged. "I'm fine, Aunt Sarah. They just don't get me." But I could see in his eyes that it hurt. High school was harder. The teasing sometimes turned into cruel comments, whispers about how he wasn't normal. The pressure to fit in weighed heavily on him. Emily tried her best to support him, but she was often exhausted from work, juggling bills and responsibilities. So Ethan turned more and more to me. He'd sit on my porch in the evenings, the Ohio summer air heavy around us, and talk about how he felt invisible. "Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever belong anywhere," he told me once, his voice quiet. Those words broke me. I held his hand and told him what I truly believed. "Ethan, the world doesn't always understand people who are different at first. But it's those differences that make you extraordinary. One day, those same things that make you feel out of place will be the very things that make people look up to you." He didn't say much after that, but I could tell he was listening. The turning point came during his sophomore year. The school was holding an art exhibition, and one of his teachers, who believed in him, convinced Ethan to submit a few of his pieces. He was nervous, his hands shaking as he set his work on the display boards. "What if they laugh?" he whispered to me when I went with him to the setup. I squeezed his shoulder. "What if they don't? What if they see what I see?" That night, as families wandered through the school halls looking at the student work, something incredible happened. People stopped at Ethan's display. They didn't just glance and move on, they lingered. Parents leaned in to read the little descriptions he had written. Students who had never spoken to him stood in awe. His drawings weren't just pictures. They were whole stories filled with emotion and detail, showing worlds that only he could imagine. One drawing, of a boy standing at the edge of a forest with light spilling through the trees, seemed to capture something universal: fear, hope, longing. People whispered, "Who did this?" And when they saw Ethan's name, their expressions changed. By the end of the night, Ethan's face was glowing in a way I had never seen before. For the first time, he felt seen. That night, as we drove home, he looked at me and said, "Maybe I do belong somewhere after all." From that point on, something in him shifted. He still faced struggles. High school wasn't magically easy after that, but he began to carry himself differently. He joined the art club, entered competitions, and slowly began to make friends who appreciated him for who he was. He even started teaching himself digital design, spending hours on my computer experimenting with new tools. When he graduated high school, he wasn't the shy, overlooked boy anymore. He was confident, determined, and ready to take on the world. Emily cried as he walked across the stage to receive his diploma, and I found myself crying too, not just for the boy he had been, but for the young man he had become. College took him farther away. He got into an art program at a university in Chicago. At first, Emily and I worried. Would he be okay in a big city? Would he find his place? But he thrived. He called often, his voice excited as he shared about new projects, professors who pushed him, and classmates who inspired him. One day, he told me, "Aunt Sarah, I think I finally found people who get me." Years passed. His work began gaining recognition. He held small exhibitions, then larger ones. He even got commissioned projects that paid him enough to support himself. Every time he called with good news, Emily and I celebrated like he had won the lottery. We were proud beyond words. But what shocked me most wasn't just his success. It was the way he carried himself now. The boy who once sat alone in the cafeteria had become a man who stood confidently in front of crowds, presenting his art, speaking about creativity, and encouraging younger students to embrace who they were. I'll never forget one evening when I visited him in Chicago. He was hosting a gallery opening, and the place was packed. People from all walks of life filled the room, marveling at his work. Ethan stood in the center, dressed sharply, speaking passionately to a group of students who hung on his every word. He caught my eye across the room and gave me that same crooked smile he had as a little boy, but now it carried strength. Later that night, we walked along the city streets, the lights glowing above us. "Do you remember when I told you I wondered if I'd ever belong anywhere?" he asked me. I nodded, tears welling. "Well," he continued, his voice thick with emotion, "I think I finally found my place. And it's because you and Mom never gave up on me." I hugged him tightly, overwhelmed with pride. In that moment, I realized just how far he had come. From the shy, misunderstood boy who hid behind sketchbooks to the confident man inspiring others, Ethan's transformation was nothing short of extraordinary. His story is a reminder that sometimes the people who feel the most out of place are the ones who end up changing the world. And as his aunt, I can say with certainty that his growth didn't just change his life, it changed mine too. He taught me patience, the power of believing in someone, and the beauty of watching someone discover their true self.